They didn't argue yesterday. They didn't argue yesterday. They didn't argue yesterday.
Eles não discutiram ontem.
She hasn't argued recently. She hasn't argued recently. She hasn't argued recently.
Ela não discutiu recentemente.
He didn't argue with his friend. He didn't argue with his friend. He didn't argue with his friend.
Ele não discutiu com o amigo.
We haven't argued about it. We haven't argued about it. We haven't argued about it.
Não discutimos sobre isso.
She didn't argue against it. She didn't argue against it. She didn't argue against it.
Ela não argumentou contra isso.
They haven't argued in public. They haven't argued in public. They haven't argued in public.
Eles não discutiram em público.
He didn't argue with his sister. He didn't argue with his sister. He didn't argue with his sister.
Ele não discutiu com a irmã.
She hasn't argued with her boss. She hasn't argued with her boss. She hasn't argued with her boss.
Ela não discutiu com o chefe.
They didn't argue over money. They didn't argue over money. They didn't argue over money.
Eles não discutiram por dinheiro.
We haven't argued recently. We haven't argued recently. We haven't argued recently.
Não discutimos recentemente.
He didn't argue for equal rights. He didn't argue for equal rights. He didn't argue for equal rights.
Ele não argumentou pelos direitos iguais.
She hasn't argued about politics. She hasn't argued about politics. She hasn't argued about politics.
Ela não discutiu sobre política.
They didn't argue passionately. They didn't argue passionately. They didn't argue passionately.
Eles não discutiram com paixão.
He didn't argue his case well. He didn't argue his case well. He didn't argue his case well.
Ele não argumentou bem o caso.
They haven't argued for hours. They haven't argued for hours. They haven't argued for hours.
Eles não discutiram por horas.
We didn't argue in public. We didn't argue in public. We didn't argue in public.
Não discutimos em público.
She hasn't argued with her teacher. She hasn't argued with her teacher. She hasn't argued with her teacher.
Ela não discutiu com a professora.
He didn't argue against the proposal. He didn't argue against the proposal.
Ele não argumentou contra a proposta.
They haven't argued over a misunderstanding. They haven't argued over a misunderstanding.
Eles não discutiram por mal-entendido.
Did you not argue about it? Did you not argue about it?
Vocês não discutiram sobre isso?